Jack Webster. It's 8 o'clock, precisely. Welcome back to the second half of our Bonzone Toastmasters meeting. Generally, at any Toastmasters meeting, this is when the prepared speeches occur. And this evening, our speaker is delivering the sales training speech from the Professional Speaker's Manual. His objectives: to tell a sales audience how to sell a product by using a planned presentation, to inform a sales training audience about the human experience of the buyer-seller relationship, to use entertaining stories and dynamic examples of sales situations, inspire salespeople to want to succeed in selling. Our speaker asks you to consider these two questions as a Toastmasters Club: who is our customer, and whose responsibility is to sell the Toastmasters membership to them? Please join me in welcoming our speaker, Ray Stonehouse, distinguished Toastmaster with a sales approach to increasing TM membership. Ray Stonehouse.
By a show of hands, how many people here are in sales? Oh, good. Good. As some of fellow Toastmasters, it's kind of a joke here because we tend not to think that we are in sales. And however, I do know for a fact that our two guests here didn't raise their hands. Yet they are in sales because they have a photography website up and running. And I know for a fact that they've had businesses in the past, so they may not have been salespeople in the past, but they are currently salespeople. Now, Sandra, was your hand up too?
Yeah.
Why was that?
Why was mine up?
Yeah.
Because I'm in sales with trying to convince people to join Toastmasters about selling a product.
People to join Toastmasters. Okay, even before that, when I think I avoided sales for a long time. I was asked to become a salesperson for Amway. And I had some challenges with that because I really had some challenges with rejection. Anybody ever heard of rejection? So I tended to avoid sales. And it was for the longest time. I'm a registered nurse. We don't give our patients a bill. It's all taken care of through the government. So there's no direct connection between my customer as a registered nurse and my patient. However, there is a relationship that is a customer and service provider relationship. So I'm in sales. The sales that I am selling as a registered nurse to my patients, my clients, is my expertise. If I'm going to be spending time with them doing some health teaching, I am selling my experience, my sage advice, my wisdom, the experience that I've learned in my professional career of 30 years of nursing. That's what I'm selling to them. There may not be an exchange of money, but there is a sales relationship that takes place. Now, I was thinking about having a case study to be able to weave into us. We're a group of salespeople here. We got that established. We're going to be selling Toastmasters. I would like to see 25 people in this room. I can't get out there and talk to every single person that's out there. So I have to have a group of champions. I have to have a sales force. And let's face it, we are most of the club that's here. There's a few people that are missing. And for those that aren't aware, Neil and Mary are here for a purpose this evening. They are joining us as club coaches. So they're no longer guests, they are active participants to our club. So they're going to be part of our sales force. And I wanted to give a sales presentation that had actual meaning. So at 20 after 5 this afternoon, I'm thinking, okay, I need some kind of a case study to be able to really make this presentation dynamic. And as Doug was saying, talking about leftovers, well, I had my leftovers all on a plate, and I had them in the microwave, and I was nuking them. And like Judy said, she can multitask. Well, I can multitask too. I was loading up all this paraphernalia that you see to load into the car. And I had it piled up at the front door. And at 20 after 5, the doorbell rings. Now at the Stonehouse residence, we don't usually answer the doorbell because it's usually salespeople, so we're not going to answer the door. But because I was standing there all set to go out, I couldn't hide because whoever could see me were looking face to face, so I had to answer the door. I opened up the door, and there's a young fellow, must have been probably about 10 years old. I knew that because I was taller than him. He was much older than that, grade 8. Those grade 8s are pretty big nowadays. He would have been taller than me. He had a box in his hand, just like this. This is the box. But he says to me, would you like to buy some chocolates? I said, no thanks, we don't eat chocolates around here. So he went on his way. And I started thinking, that is the exact example of what a sales presentation is. So what did he do? He rang the doorbell, I'm gonna knock, but he rang the doorbell, and he asked me, would you like to buy some chocolates? I said no, and he left. So what did he do right and what did he do wrong? What do you see there, Mary?
He asked for the order.
He asked for the order, okay. Is that good or bad?
That's great.
That's great, okay. And anything else that you saw that he did, or just by the example that I've given you? Look me straight in the eyes, would you like to buy some chocolates? Well, what did he do wrong?
He didn't give you a compelling reason to buy chocolates, or was he raising money?
Exactly. What time did he call, did I tell you?
5:20.
What do people usually do at 5:20?
Eat dinner.
Are you in the mood for a chocolate bar when you're in the middle of supper?
But at 6:30.
That's the point. That's the point where he came up. Okay, bearing in mind that he's probably 10 years old, I don't think he was a young midget or anything like that. So we know that he's a young person. But if this was an exact sales presentation, and he comes to my door, other things that he could have done, he says, okay, I can understand perhaps you're having your supper at this point in time. Here's my business card. You know, maybe in a couple of hours you are going to be hungry. He never opened the box of chocolates. People buy for different reasons. One of the reasons they buy is on impulse, or the other end of the continuum is that they've studied it, they've researched it, and they know exactly what they want. All I saw was a box that had chocolate bars on the thing. If he had opened it up, maybe I would have bought on impulse. So he missed the sales right there. So one of the things that he didn't do is that he didn't qualify me as a customer. There's this idea in marketing and sales that if you ask enough people, sheer numbers, the numbers are there, that you're going to make enough sales. But if I wasn't a qualified customer, I was never a potential customer for him in the first place. Now some people have this idea about sales, that if you, actually go back to it. Some people have this idea that sales is overpowering the other person. Now we get people that come to Toastmasters. So why do they come to Toastmasters? I don't mean why because of the need for public speaking, but what brings them in?
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth. Okay, so there's some marketing out there, there's some advertising that's taking place. Okay, what else?
They've seen a positive example from someone.
Okay. So they've heard about it, they're responding to the marketing, and they've come out. So when they come in that door right there, what you have is they're qualified to a certain extent because they have already, as Mark said, they've talked to somebody, they've seen a positive example, they've seen some advertising, maybe they've seen something on it. One of the basic tenets of marketing is that you have to touch your customer at least 7 times before they'll make a purchase from you. Now, touching them doesn't mean going like this. A touch is, like Mark said, a touch would be talking to somebody. Or as Judy gave an example, perhaps seeing it on the web page, or seeing it on a newspaper. That's a touch right there. So when somebody comes in the door, they're already qualified because you know they're here for a purpose. They're not walking in because they're here to buy eggs or anything like that. They're here for a specific purpose. So one of the things that I use is, I said to them, you know, have you heard about Toastmasters? Or what do you know about Toastmasters? This one here is actually an example of, the one I use here is what brings you to Toastmasters. When I talk about, have you heard about Toastmasters? I talk about, as an example, I don't have one of my business cards here, but I've got Ray Stonehouse, RN, DTM on my business card. Now what do you think people are going to ask about when they see that card?
DTM.
Not the RN. That part's easy. They're going to ask me, what does DTM stand for? And what am I going to say to them? Have you ever heard about Toastmasters? That's my calling card there for Toastmasters. Because at the same time that I'm plugging for my business purposes, I'm also plugging for Toastmasters. So opportunities are out there all over the place. It's not just a matter of looking around and saying, okay, that person over there, they're pretty shy, they'd make a good Toastmaster. You have to bring it up in conversation all the time. So they come in the door, they're a qualified person. What I often have when I go back as the president or whoever role I'm taking, I talk to them. Okay, I say to them, what brings you here? Do you need to do some public speaking in your job? Some will say, yes, they do. I've got a wedding coming up. I need to do a toast. I've got a big presentation coming up. And odds are, they've probably left it to the very last moment. I ask this question in most cases. This is probably a male way of looking, a masculine way of looking at it, because we tend to see the world in the way of what people do for a living. So maybe it's a quick way of putting somebody into a hole or pigeonhole to have an idea of what their background is. So what do you do for a living? If you have a person that is in a cubicle, like a Dilbert-style computer cubicle, odds are in their job they're not going to have a lot of opportunities to get out and speak. I'm not saying that Doug is one of those cubicles, but Doug has told us in the past that as an engineering, his work tends to be on computer, tends to be focused, and the reason he comes out here was to have friends, I guess. Get out of the cubicle. But that's a good reason for people to come out here. The question that also helps set the hook, would public speaking skills, effective public speaking skills, would it help you in your job? And I think most people, they may not see the answer to that. But public speaking skills is only one aspect of why people come into Toastmasters. I've talked about it before. What's the main product that we sell here at Toastmasters? 2 products.
Self-confidence.
You give it away. Communication skills. If I had an apple, I'd give her the apple. We sell communication skills and we sell leadership skills. That's the service that we provide. But what we're providing is exactly what Mary had said, and that's that we provide, or we help you develop your self-confidence. What I'm going to give you is a 5-step formula. Now this is a 5-step formula as developed in the Toastmasters manual. If you've been involved with sales or marketing and all, and I'm at the very, I'd say, rudimentary stages of my developing my marketing skills, that there is so much new material out there, different ways to marketing it, that some might say that the Toastmasters way of looking at it is, perhaps a little too simplistic, perhaps for a business. But for us, bringing in Toastmaster customers to fill up these seats here, there's a lot of good information in here. The first part of the 5-step formula is to find out the prospect's needs. What were those questions that I asked just a moment ago? What brings you to Toastmasters? What do you do for a living? Will public speaking skills, could they help your position in your job, or in your job? In any business situation, what you're trying to do is you're trying to identify the customer's pain. So the selling relationship is not a matter of trying to overpower the other person, their objections. I think one of the sales situations that I did have in the past was with, Mark talked about Cub Scouts. When I was a Cub Scout leader, one of the fundraising activities that we had was to sell Christmas trees at Rona every year. What do I know about Christmas trees? Nothing. I know how to put them up, but to sell them. So I had to quickly learn, well, this is a blue spruce, this is a Fraser pine or whatever it was, this is a Douglas fir. Try and tell the people exactly what I thought that they wanted to hear. This is a perfect tree, it's 6 foot tall, it'll fill out like this. So I was kind of overpowering the customers for the Christmas tree with everything that I knew about it. And I figured if I gave them enough details, they would have enough details that they were going to buy from me. But I never got to the point in saying, okay, Neil, oh, can I call you Neil? So that's your name. Your name tag is Neil. You're looking for a Christmas tree. How big of a room do you have? What size are you thinking? Well, an 8-foot tree. Oh, the 8-foot trees, well, I've got you in the wrong section. Let's go over here. Now, here's some 8-foot trees over here. How big do you think it's going to expand? Like these 8-foot trees, the bigger that you get, they're going to expand. Now, you're gonna have a lot of people, that you're gonna have a lot of presence underneath. You might wanna have a tree that has a lot of stem underneath. And we can solve that problem for you. We can lob off some of those branches. So by talking with Neil that way about, we're talking Christmas trees, I've learned a little bit more about what his needs are. And this basically, his wife told him, get the best tree that you can get or you're in trouble by the time you get home. So he's got, I'm helping him with his pain. I'm trying to solve his problem there. So when you're finding out your prospect's needs, what you're doing is you're getting information. Now we know the five W's and one H. 5 W's and 1 H.
What, where,
Question.
when? What, where, when?
Who, what, when, why, where, and how. Who, what, why, when, where, and how. You're finding out what their needs are. So you're clarifying the problems that they have. Are there any other problems? We're talking Toastmasters. People are coming in here, and we're chatting them up. We're finding out what their needs are. I don't think it's so important to go to, you know, we all have a story of when we had problems in the past, and we know we had an anxiety attack, and it's fun to talk about that. But I don't think that's the time to talk about it when they come here. When they come in here, we want to show them the positive parts of our program. And we're encouraging them to come in and participate in our program as a guest. We're saying, come on in, just watch how things go on in here. Don't get stressed out. Somebody will stand up and they'll introduce you. And at the end of our meeting, we're going to ask you some comments. You can give us some feedback as you want. But just enjoy yourself. We're not going to put any pressure on you. And you will see that the people that are in the room, they're not getting stressed out. They're working on the program and they're participating. People don't like to buy from strangers. People like to buy from people that they trust, people that they feel comfortable from. So you need to gain the confidence of the person that comes in. That could be a simple matter in a Toastmasters club of whoever, if we have a person serving as a greeter, or even Sandra as our VP of membership, she could assign it to somebody else. Just taking the new guest around and introducing them to all the different members. And that's the one thing that I do remember from the Monday Night Toastmasters Club. Harry Bloomfield, an older gentleman, my very first Toastmaster meeting, took me around and shook 25 people's hand at the Kelowna Toastmasters Club. I think that makes a big deal, a big difference from there. So once again, you gain the confidence from the customer. I'm going to stand right below here for it. You gain the confidence from your customer by talking to them, asking those who, what. You don't want to sound like an investigative reporter that you're going to be on the Fifth Estate or anything like that. You want to show a genuine interest. And it's a matter of, basically in sales, is letting the customer do most of the talking. You lead probing questions, you lead questions in that direction. If you want to work towards building up a trust. 5-step formula. Step number 3, we're in sales. We are selling something. We are selling a product. If we're in business, we're doing it for a purpose of making some money. This is a drama that sort of sets it up, makes it kind of exciting, doesn't it? It's a 5-part. It's a 5-part formula to follow. D stands for demonstration. You have infomercials. What do? They demonstrate the product. They have happy people using the product that you can't live without it. You go to a fair, people are demonstrating stuff. Used to be the Fuller Brush salesperson, used to come to your door and demonstrate what their products would do. The Avon lady would come in, she would leave free samples. She would demonstrate how the product could make you into, you know, Zsa Zsa Gabor with a little bit of red lipstick and touches of light mascara. To give you a demonstration. But what do? The Toastmaster, the guests come in here and sit down and watch the meeting. Bring a friend. This is our demonstration. The second one in there is you make recommendations. If you were selling a product, you would be saying, you know, I've got a selection of 5 or 6 different products here. And now that I've had a chance to listen to what your needs are, I think, this is your best product here, is this one here. We've got some other ones here. I think this one's a little overpowered, this one's a little underpowered. In a Toastmasters, we're recommending that they make a commitment to come into a meeting on a regular basis. Now, our program is self-directed, self-paced. And I'd like to be able to say you can get out of it what you put into it, but I know that's not always true with things. Sometimes you get more out of it than you put into it, and sometimes it's the other way around. So I wouldn't use that as a cliche, but I would recommend that come in for a few meetings to test it out before you buy. I don't recommend that somebody drops a check the first meeting that we have. Because I've been involved in Toastmasters 15 years, and I've quite often seen that people that are spontaneous, you get caught up in a meeting. You know, you have 15, 20 people here. There's a synergy that goes on in the meeting. People can get caught up on it. They put the check down, then they start to have second thoughts. They haven't given any consideration to how much work is really involved with it. So I recommend they come for a few meetings and check it out. Now, arithmetic. You heard the expression, do the math? The cost of Toastmasters. Okay, we know it's about $125 for a new member to join up. And that takes part of gets them a new member kit. We know that our monthly dues are $90. So for us as existing members, $180 a year. Okay, you do the math. $180 a year divided by probably about 46 meetings a year. So it's working out that the 2 hours that you are spending here, and I don't have a calculator here to back it up, but you're paying less than $5 per evening that you're coming here. $5 per evening. $2.50 per hour. Has anybody taken any courses at OUC lately? Any courses? Night school? You think you're going to get it for $2.50 an hour? Don't think so. No, it would be, probably works out, of course, to $15 to $20 an hour when you factor in the number of hours. So the investment that a member makes here as a Toastmaster is far surpasses what's available for other education programs out there. M is for measure, and measuring is, how do you measure ties into a return on investment. How can you measure the abilities and the skills that you develop here? Sometimes that's not that easy to do because there's a lot of intangible benefits. Mary talked about building self-confidence. If your self-confidence increases and you're open to more opportunities, whether that brings personal satisfaction, whether it brings personal fulfillment, whether it brings income, that's a return on investment. And the return on investment, I've heard it over and over again. You know, maybe your desire is not to go out to be a professional motivational speaker. Some people in Toastmasters, that is their objectives, but it's not everybody's. It may be just a matter of feeling comfortable, saying grace at Mark's family for the first time. Maybe that takes a lot of nerve to do that, and having your skills here to do that, maybe that's what makes the difference. Assure, A for assure. We've all bought products. We've bought cars, we've bought vehicles, we've bought household goods, we've bought food for our house, we've bought consumer goods. There's a few things that we want. We want to make sure that we have made the right choice. We want to make sure that our product is going to last, and it's going to last because it is a good product. And we want to make sure that product is going to last into the future. So as salespeople, we need to assure our prospects, our customers, that the money that they spend on their membership dues, the time and effort that they put into participating in the club meeting, and as they get more confidence and experience outside of the club meeting, they will definitely get their money's worth. So you have to assure them, because people are coming in. In many cases, these are, well, I think all of us, how many people were super self-confident when they walked into this Toastmasters meeting for the first time? Douglas. You should be up here doing this, Doug.
Yeah.
Somehow, we'll get back to you on that. Has anybody ever argued with a salesperson? Yeah, but every time a salesperson would come up with something, it's quite often, it comes up with responses. Okay. So we know as a customer that there are certain types of objections that will be raised. One, well, I've got family commitment. How can I show up? I can't show up every week. I have a family commitment. What would be an answer to that one? Do we have a solution to that one?
Not everybody can turn
Yeah, that's right. It's a self-directed, it's a self-paced program. We have people that come every second week. Sometimes some people travel, but you have to, I think the secret to it is to, when you are able to attend a meeting, is to maximize your participation during that meeting that you are able to attend. Do your homework in advance, so when you're at the meeting, you can do a performance or do a presentation, a delivery, take on a role that really challenges you. What people don't realize is that a lot of people think that the Toastmaster meeting only takes place 1.5 hours or 2 hours. There's a lot of stuff and opportunity that goes on outside of the club. You know, Mary and Neil are prime examples of this. They're expanding their Toastmaster skill by coming here and offering to help us get our club growing. And that's part of the advanced leadership program. That's why they're not just here because of my smiling face. Well, they should be. But so if you anticipate all the objections, taking it to sales too, if you participate or anticipate all the objections that your customer has, it's not a matter of trying to convince them that your way is right. It's just a matter of reducing the anxiety related to the objections that they have. Some of the objections may be very valid. I'm flat broke, I have absolutely no money. How can you get over that objection? You can't. You know, there are criterias. You have to be over 18 years old, between 18 and 120. You have to be breathing, and you have to be able to pay the membership dues. It's a pay-as-you-go program. So that may be one objection that you may not be able to get past. So part of the 5-step program is also, you're convincing the person to join. You're taking away all the objections that they have to not join. Now, these are qualified people because they at least had some interest. They came out to check out our program in the first place. So these are qualified customers. Some people in sales, there's an expression that says ABC, and different things, different stands for. Does anybody in sales know what ABC stands for?
Always be closing.
Correct. Always be closing. In some ways, though, that's the old way of doing things. The research that I'm finding now is that one thing is our customers are getting more savvy. They know that you're doing a closing. And I have an example of where I really got caught on that once. It's going way back in time. It was 1983. I know exactly when it was. Sandra and I were looking for a car. And I went to a Ford dealer. And I took a small car out. And it was kind of interesting. I took a ride. That's what they try to do. It's a demonstration. Go out and smell the new vehicle. Go out for a drive. And I did that. And I came back and I was talking positively about it. But for some reason, there must have been a miscommunication between me and the salesperson. Because he said, I'll be back in a minute. And he came back out and he had a contract all written up. And he presents it to me. He says, okay, it's all set to go. This is what's going to cost you. You just signed on the bottom line. And I just sort of, where in the world did you ever get the idea from our discussion that I was ready to sign on the line? I said this was an interesting vehicle, but I just began my search and I've got a long way to go before I make a decision. And in fact, I did try out about another 5 different models of cars before I made a decision. But this, I'm not sure if the salesperson was so eager to sign me or what the deal was, but there was definitely a miscommunication. So you got an acronym here called CLOSE. So comparison. And now this is from the manual. I don't quite understand this one because I don't agree with it. It's not quite the way you would think it is. When you're selling something, okay, Mark, I'm going to sell you. I've got these series of books right here. Now, they come in red covers, they come in green covers, and blue covers. Which one would you like? Red cover, green cover, blue cover, which one?
We all the same book.
Yep. It's not rocket science, pick one.
Blue.
Blue. Okay, what I've asked him to do is, I've assumed that he's going to make the sale, I'm going to make the sale, and he's going to make the purchase. So I've given him a small decision to make. So it doesn't really matter, he's made a small decision on that. Another way of the same idea is you lead the person in a series of yes questions. So do you like the book so far? You got a chance to read it, you like the book?
Yes.
Okay. Do you see yourself owning this book?
Yes.
Okay. How about your friends? Do you have friends who like that book?
Possibly.
Okay, for only $29.95, you can sign right here. I have this book for you. So that's what they call a comparison, and I have some challenges with that because I don't see if I follow them. Loss. Have you ever seen it? You see it more on, infomercials. Phone now, operators are standing by. I think it's 5 o'clock in the morning, let that guy go to bed. Let that guy go to bed. But that's what they say, because this offer will not be repeated. And you see it on ads in the internet. Buy now, this is a limited quantity, there will only be so many left. If you don't buy now, you're in danger of losing this wonderful deal that I'm selling to you. So in a Toastmaster function, we know this is going to be a product. But if they're wasting some time, think of the opportunities that they're losing out on by not working and developing their self-confidence now. So that's how I would apply that to selling Toastmasters. It's going to open doors for you, but if you don't get a start on it, ask them for their opinion. When you're in sales, it's not simply a matter of us doing all the talking. We've asked them the who, what, why, when. We've asked them what their problems are, what their pain is. Ask them what their opinion. What do you think about this product? Because what you're doing as a salesperson is you're removing all barriers for that person from buying. And what's one of the things that we do on our agenda? Right towards the end, right before the closing thought. Guest comments. What are we doing? We're asking our Toastmaster guests their opinion on how they felt that our program went. So it's the same thing in the sales process. And that's part of the closing, because what happens after we ask for their opinion, if the chair is a confident person and is aware of serving as a chair, well, thank you for that opinion. We value your feedback. Why don't you come on back next week and check us out again? We'd really like you to join our club. So you've asked their opinion, and you've continued to set that hook. You're continuing to close. Now, quite often, one of the best ways to close the sale is to tell a story. You want to tell a story that you've practiced it, you share a story with them that is personal, and it illustrates the point of why you think they should buy. One of the ones that I give in Toastmasters quite often, I've asked everybody here to put together a Toastamonial. The Toastamonial that I give, there's a young fellow, name's Colt, some people don't know him. He's a Toastmaster from Penticton. When I first met Colt at a meeting, he was probably about 18, 19 years old at the time. He has a speech impediment. He stutters, and you know Colt. So when Colt would stand up, it would take him a couple minutes just to get his name to introduce himself. And he started attending Toastmasters. He started working through the competent CTM manual back then. He achieved his CTM. He still had learning disabilities. He needed the support of his entire club and any of the different roles that he took on. Then he started serving as club officers, took on some roles, and he had some support. He took on the area governor role for 2 different years. He had the support of the people. Now, he's not going to be a motivational speaker, but when you see this young fellow stand up now, and when you see what he was like in the past, even though he has all these things going against him, a learning disability, a speech impediment, some shyness, this is a guy that's getting up and to the best of his ability, he's delivering speeches. And I haven't seen him for about a year or so, but I would expect that he's probably completed his advanced silver and working on his advanced gold. So I think that's a motivational talk that, somebody like that has those challenges in life, what's preventing us from getting out there and doing that? And that's the reason why, Judy, you should join Toastmasters. That's the reason you should join. Now our last one in here, as an example. There's a thin line, I think, between telling the story and giving the example. The way I would separate the two is the story sets it up, something personal to share with the customer, the prospect, and the example is where you set the hook and where you show them these are where the benefits of joining Toastmasters are. Is there any questions? I'm doing all the talking here. Doug?
In order to sell something, you have to work at it. And I find we'll have a business meeting here, but, and if you're leading the business meeting, that's good. But however, the rest of the group is not having to work at that sales. So I'm struggling in my mind, how do we give the rest of the group an opportunity to say what they've done to help sell Toastmasters as part of a business meeting?
Has anybody got any answers to that? Or coaches, do you understand the question?
I don't quite understand the question.
Sorry, I was only paying half attention to what
Well,
he was evaluating here.
my question is how do we sell Toastmasters? And like I say, if we just have Ray go out and do the website and go and talk it up and whatnot, that's one person. Or the rest of the group here is, well, there's 5, yourselves would make it.
Well, that's, if I understand your question, that is really the intent of this sales talk right now, is to help give you the basic skills so that you can get out there and you can talk up Toastmasters.
Okay, so let me take it one step further. Now that we've got this knowledge, how are we gonna put it to work?
How are you going to put it to work is chat up people. You know, some people, what they do is, I'm not nervy enough to do it, but I do know people that wear their Toastmaster pin into the grocery store.
Or
And they're-
even where this.
Yeah, there's some people, yeah, they're pinned, and there will always be people in line that will ask you about that. You know, I've been told this is a really cool badge. There's not a lot of these ones around because it's part of the district team. So, chatting it up, and I chat it up in conversation. That's the reason I put the DTM on my business card, because it gets me into another conversation, takes me in another direction. So while I'm working my business, I can do this. But it can be chatting them up in line, it could be friends, relatives, significant others. Start expanding your circle, putting up signs at work, maybe bringing it up in a staff meeting.
Yes?
It's a matter of trying it a few times and getting out and doing it.
But I guess what's pushing us to try? That's what I'm struggling with.
What's pushing in it? Let's count the bums. Count the bums in this room.
Yeah,
Tell the empty seats.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's what's,
We need
that's
to-
the result. But I guess there's nothing forcing me to go and try and do this. Maybe if I had to stand up at a business meeting and answer the questions, what did I do since the last business meeting to help sell Toastmasters?
Okay, there is actually, if you're looking at it to the basics, there is a program called the Outstanding Member Program, where you get recognition for the number of people that you've sponsored to the club. You know, there is recognition for there. The more people that you have in here gives you, if you bring somebody in, a guest to sit beside you right there, sets you up perfectly for mentoring somebody with their first 3 speeches. Now that's a return on investment or something that's measurable in the education program. And I believe there's a part about mentoring a new member or helping a new guest out in the leadership manual. So-
Definitely the
Yeah.
mentoring,
No.
is that's one whole thing in the confident leader manual.
Well, it's good questions. It's answering the question of what's in it for me. Your experience, Doug, will be magnified if this room is full. With, you know, this room full, 20 people, people will be fighting to get on the agenda. You're gonna have a higher quality of presentations, and you learn public speaking by getting up and doing it, but you also learn from the mistakes and the good things that everybody else does too. So there's a lot more example. So that I think would be the answer for you in that. Are there any other questions? With that in mind, I'm going to be doing there's a whole manual in salesmanship, and I'm going to try and plug it in here so we can get experience. Sandra and I, we've had some time to do some role playing, helping her with her role as the Lieutenant Governor of Marketing, so when people come in, so then perhaps we'll explore some of those things in future speeches. So with that, I urge everybody to go out there and bring in a good 10 guests each, and that goes for all of us. Let's fill this room up. Mr. Chairman.